You're gonna love this one. You might not agree with his sports takes, but when it comes to politics, Stephen A. Smith is actually on point recently. He recently made an appearance on The View, and Sunny Hostin was trying to blame different people for the election results, but Stephen was quick to backfire and shut her down. Today we're covering that in addition to talking about what he thinks mattered the most for the voters. As always, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more videos just like this.
Stephen, let me ask you, because I agree on all counts. There's a lot to unpack of what kind of went wrong for Democrats here. I think a factor is the working class feeling left behind, not reaching out to rural Americans. But what do you identify as what Democrats got wrong? And it seems like you agree Biden maybe should have stepped aside sooner.
He definitely should have stepped aside. I said it a year ago. I was on camera. Everybody was getting on me. I said a year ago, you need to step aside.
You took some heat.
You are the left. You leaned and you were a prisoner to the extreme left in a lot of people's eyes. Well, guess what? Most of America doesn't operate on the fringes. Whether you're left or you're right, you're relatively centrist. You believe in compromise, negotiation, working with one another. Nobody gets to get everything they want. The problem is those on the fringes continuously push for you to get everything you want. They're not about getting things done. They're about getting their way. And if they're not going to get their way, they're about complaining and griping about it.
That's right. The Democrats have swung so far left that it feels like they've taken a one-way trip to the political fringe, and it has cost them public support in a big way. Americans like balance. They don't want to feel like their government is leaning too far in one direction, especially when that direction involves policies and rhetoric that seem disconnected from the average person's daily life. Just think about it. The party that used to champion the working class is now calling for astronomical rises on taxes, in addition to reckless spending, which is driving up inflation. Their obsession with woke narratives hasn't helped them either, because people are looking for practical solutions to their problems over endless calls for canceling people. It's not that people don't care about social issues, they absolutely do, but when you prioritize them above everything else, you start to lose touch with the real concerns that actually sway elections. Even lifelong Democrats such as Elon Musk and Joe Rogan were left scratching their heads wondering what happened to the party they once supported. But Sunny didn't like the answer and had to intervene and make the issue about the right.
So you think the Republicans are sort of an extreme fringe party?
No, I don't think that they're an extreme fringe party. I think that they're operating against those they believe are extreme on the left. You're saying it's ridiculous. I don't disagree with you. But most of the voters out there don't think like that.
But that means they don't have the information.
Okay, but 90% of the voters don't have the information. If you're out there busting your tail to make ends meet and to pay your bills, and you're going to work every day, and you got a family to take care of, and you're in New York City, you're getting stuck 2 hours of your day, you're stuck in traffic. You understand? You got a whole bunch of stuff to go through. You don't have time to know what you and I know.
Maybe you need to listen to the news when you're in traffic.
Well, again, I agree with
that.
Be uninformed. Or you listen to stuff that's going to take you away from the things that brings down your spirit. And that's unfortunately what most voters are doing.
I've got to disagree with both of them here because, simply put, we live in the age of information. Claiming people are uninformed or lack access to information feels outdated and honestly condescending. A recent Pew Research Center survey showed that, quote, about 7 in 10 Americans surveyed in September say they are following news about the presidential candidates for the 2024 election. I think it's safe to assume that Sunny and people on the left have a strange habit of being unhappy about people not being brainwashed anymore by the MSM propaganda. The assumption seems to be that their sources are the only ones capable of truth, while others are biased or unreliable. And the irony is that the left criticizes echo chambers, but this behavior creates one of the biggest echo chambers out there. Let's not forget that we've got everything from independent journalists to YouTube commentators digging into issues mainstream media outlets choose to skim over or avoid entirely, like us. And we, of course, have X, which makes every person a citizen journalist at this point.
55% of Latino men voted for Trump. Why do you think that happened?
Well, I think that economically, they were looking at things. First of all, you've got, in this country, you've got Cubans, Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, Guatemalans, Venezuelans, Colombians, et cetera, et cetera. And if you talk to the Hispanic community, depending on who you're talking to, they think differently. The Cubans think differently than the Dominicans. The Dominicans think different than Colombians. To some, the economy was a priority. To some, believe it or not, it was the border. You had some folks within the Hispanic populace that were encouraging the borders to be closed.
They want to pull the.
But here's why that's so imperative. It's so important. Because we're not Latinos. They're telling you that's what we want. We had to stay online. We have to be online in order to get in. Who are you to bypass the line?
I know she was talking about Latino men, but let's zoom out a bit. The left has this habit of dividing people into identity groups like they're organized a spreadsheet of demographics to champion. They then assume these groups will automatically support them because they position themselves as the champions of minorities. Drop a like if you think that is not only what they are doing is patronizing, but it's also incredibly divisive. When you constantly highlight differences based on identity, you're not building unity, you're putting up walls. It creates an us versus them mentality that turns people into categories, not individuals. And it's not just divisive, it's tone deaf. People don't like being reduced to a label or told what they should believe based on who they are. Compare that with Trump's campaign, which focuses on a message of unity around being Americans. It wasn't about dividing people by race, gender, or other factors. It was about focusing on shared goals and a collective identity, and the results, well, they spoke for themselves. With increased support from a wide range of demographics, Stephen A. also explained why people stopped acting as identity groups and chose the path of common sense this time around.
The other important thing to recognize is this, and I've said this often. When we look at the economy, I remember when Biden came into the office, he inherited about 1.5% inflation. It ballooned to about 9.1% before it ultimately came down to where it is now, right? That doesn't mean anything to minorities. The percentage in inflation, and here's the percentage. Nah. How much does gas cost? How much does the groceries cost, okay? How much does rent cost? How much does my mortgage cost? That's what folks pay attention to, what's actually in their wallet. I don't know too many minorities that want to trust the system. And so when people speak, although you're right and righteous with your emotion and your righteous indignation, other people are saying we have the right to have righteous indignation when it comes to our pocket, or when it comes to our lifestyle, or when it comes to our environment. If we see crimes in the streets and stuff like that, we see homelessness and it's ballooned, we got a problem with that, and we don't believe this person is the answer compared to that. So what? They might have insulted a bunch of people. We don't like it, we hate it, but in the end, it's not more important than my pocketbook.
Well, no matter how you spin it, this election boiled down to one fundamental concern, which is the economy. The exit poll numbers don't lie. Voters put this issue on their top priority, and it's clear they made their decisions accordingly. When the economy is in rough shape, people feel it every day, from rising grocery bills to struggling small businesses. It's not just about statistics, it's about those stats impacting lives. Inflation, gas prices, and wage stagnation, they're real pain points. Voters don't need experts to tell them what they already know. They experience it every time they pay their bills. Candidates who failed to address these concerns head on or offered solutions that felt disconnected from reality simply couldn't win trust. I think that wasn't about which candidate was the flashiest campaign, it was about who could address the fears and hopes of everyday Americans. But I'd love to know your thoughts here, so let's get the conversation rolling in the comments down below. By the way, if you want your friends to be as informed as you are, please share the video with them. It means so much to us. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.